Okay, so hello and a warm welcome to everyone joining us today. I'm Sonia Dahiya from Tab Group, and it is my pleasure to host today's moderate panel discussion under the banner of the second World Cold Chain Expo that is set to take place on September 10th and 11th, 2025 at Festival Arena, Dubai. So, in today's webinar, we aim to discuss the emerging opportunities within the cold chain logistics in the Middle East as the region is rapidly transforming in terms of trade, food security, pharma innovation, sustainability, and the government visions and investments are unlocking new doors to the private sector innovations and international collaboration within the cold storage, transport, and distribution sector. So, we are honored to be joined by a stellar lineup of experts and industry pioneers who will share their insights on where the cold chain sector is heading next. So, let's begin by welcoming and introducing our panelists. So, we are delighted to have Olaf Skolt, Managing Director at Dutch Gulf Consult. Hi, Olaf. Robin Vermaat, founder and CEO at RB Consultancy. Shiva Reddy, Managing Director at GND Solutions. Nizreen Elkob, CEO at ENY Consulting. So with that, we have met our esteemed panelists, each bringing a unique lens to today's conversation today. So let's dive into the discussion and explore the emerging opportunities that will shape the future of the cold chain logistics in the Middle East. So, Olive, let's start with you. What role does the food security agenda of Gulf countries play in accelerating the investments in the cold chain logistics? And based on your experience, which sectors are benefiting the most from this momentum?
Yeah, thank you, Sonia, and thank you also for having me. Yeah, if we talk about food security, then yeah, this is playing a more and more important role in the region. You know, of course, that there are limited natural resources in the region with the climate that we have, and 85% of the food is being imported. Yeah, already before, but especially after COVID, countries started to develop their own initiatives to make sure that food security is better in place. You have, for example, a Saudi Vision 2030. You have the UAE National Food Security Strategy 2051, and also Oman has developed a plan. So, yeah, cold chain is about reducing food waste. 25 to 30% of perishable food goes to waste because there's yeah, a weak cold chain. So this is really an opportunity for improvement. And then if you look at the sectors, yeah, I think you talk about high value crops like berries, tomatoes, but also dairy and seafood. And then, yeah, you see, of course, where that can be improved is storage. You see large investments already ongoing, like the Maersk Park in Jeddah and the Kizat Park in Abu Dhabi. And of course, it's also interesting to see that the railroad is being developed in the UAE. It's already getting quite advanced, but there are also plans to roll it out throughout the GCC. So yeah, all this together provides, I think, an interesting perspective for future investments and business development in the region.
Thank you, Olaf. So indeed, the food security narrative is, a powerful driver behind the regional infrastructure development. So now coming to Robin, so what, according to your perspective, what kind of, private public partnerships or foreign investments are gaining traction in the cold chain ecosystem across the Middle East?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Robin. I'm the founder of RV Consultancy. We are a logistics consultancy boutique based here in Abu Dhabi. And in the recent years, we have seen significant uptake in public-private partnerships, as well as in foreign direct investment that are specifically aimed at enhancing cold chain infrastructure in the Middle East. These are being driven by food security imperative and a growing demand for temperature-sensitive pharmaceuticals, including vaccines and biologics. As Olaf already highlighted, that the food security and as well the food industry is very booming in the region. So from a consultancy perspective, there's a noticeable shift towards strategic PPPs that are involved not only in just asset-heavy infrastructure, like cold storage facilities or refrigerated transporting fleets, but also in technologies integrations. So we see that a lot of the IoT-based monitoring, AI-driven inventory management, blockchain for traceability, that is all coming up. A part of that, government, especially in the UAE and as well in Saudi, as Olaf is also mentioning, are creating economic zones where they have incentives for framework to attract global logistic players. This is stimulating the opportunity to local partners through knowledge sharing and transfer of capacity building. More or less, as last, we see we are also seeing foreign investors team up with local SMEs and free zones to build modular cold chain hubs, which can be scaled regionally. These hubs are being positioned not only for domestic consumption, but also for re-export platforms, especially given the strategic location for the GCC. It's a gateway between Europe, Asia, Africa, and all over the world.
Thank you, Robin. So that is fascinating to know. So now let's shift the gears towards the technological side of the things. So Shiva, as real-time monitoring is now becoming the essential in the cold chain. So could you just elaborate how real-time temperature and humidity monitoring can boost compliance and traceability? And like, what are some of the key challenges that the logistics player face in tracking the cold chain cargo?
Sure, Sonia. So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Siva Reddy, founder and managing director of G&D Solutions based out of Bangalore. Now we have expanded our presence in UAE. We have been working on cold chain monitoring segment, and we have gained fair understanding about the challenges and the need for making this whole cold chain in fact the supply chain more efficient and more viable. We spent like a kind of like decade years of time, and we understood that the basically the spoilage is happening while the perishable items are in transit from the warehouse to the last mile or farm produce to the supermarkets and etc. So the reason for this the spoilage is mainly the lack of real-time visibility and temperature fluctuations when they are in transit from place A to place B. And on top of this, there is a lot of regulatory compliance issues. And then, moreover, this data collection is not new anyway. It's there since probably years together, but that's mainly in the manual mode where you put this portable data loggers to get the insights of temperature, humidity. But those data is available in very fragmented way across multiple systems and operators where manual intervention is required. So because of these challenges, you could not able to understand the reason for the spoilage. Either is it like temperature fluctuations, is it because of so and so. You have this entire leg of farm produce till last mile or the warehouse to the last mile. You have so many stakeholders involved. The packaging and then transportation, storage. There are so many stakeholders, you would not be knowing where this kind of commitment, this kind of temperature fluctuation violation has happened. Is it because of the transportation? Is it because of the storage and etc.? So now adding this technology to get these real-time updates in terms of getting the live temperature, the humidity, shock vibrations, how well the transport has been, delivered in terms of in case of perishable items. And then you will also get the location in case if there is a temperature breach. You have a system in place where you can track and do the course corrections in future. What went wrong in kind of like what kind of logistic issues or the packaging issues or the storage issues, so that you can do that due diligence in terms of analyzing the system that can be help us to prevent these damages in future. So we have this kind of like technology available. You will get the live reports. You can also get the predictive, the health of the consignment before even it arrives to the end destination. So this is how so we are supporting to the system, and we have demonstrated that approximately 30% of wastage has been reduced in either in the medical industry or in the perishable like food industry.
Excellent. Excellent, Shiva. So your points about IoT-driven visibility and compliance are very particular and insightful. So now building on that, Nizreen, sustainability is becoming central to the logistics planning. So what in your view are the key sustainability benchmarks that the cold chain logistics player in the region should strive for, especially as the pressure to reduce, the carbon emissions?
Yes, hello everyone. A pleasure to be here and to see familiar faces. Hi, RV, and the whole team. Thank you very much for having me. It's very interesting that we are in the hottest region in the world, and the irony is, this is where the cold chain is the worst in the world too. And in terms of sustainability, the first thing we should do, the first action we should do, is to improve the maintenance. This is something way overlooked in our cold chain. And when we say cold chain, it's food, yes, but also pharma and medical. And when we look at this region, they have an agenda, for healthcare, the 2030, to be the top healthcare, 2030 and then 2050. But 2030 is the first milestone in Saudi and UAE. And I promise you, one of the challenges, the first challenges, is to keep the cold chain connected. It's really, really, really a huge challenge. And I would say easily 50%, and I'm not exaggerating, 50% of the damages that are happening is because of a very bad maintenance. So we are lacking in the region. Honestly, if you have money, you don't know what to do, open a serious maintenance company. I would if I had time. But we have a very bad maintenance services and companies. They just know how to patch, but there is no proper professional fixing of the cold chain. The number of warehouses that I visited, and they have ice and ice falling and ice breaks and awful, and food goes to waste or defrost and then freeze again. And I've been supply chain director for Majid Al Futtaim Carrefour, covering all 35 countries. I've seen a lot, and what I can assure you is that I always put maintenance and cold chain in first, and tracking and data logging and etc., because we can't play with food and we can't play with medicine. So yes, in terms of sustainability, I would say first is to preserve our waste of energy by having a great top-notch, excellent quality maintenance, facility management and maintenance. That's number one. And then, of course, the second step is to convert to renewable energies. And for that, I know it sounds scary, but you can start small. You can start very small by, for example, using renewed water. You can use maybe solar panels, but not for the whole facility, for part of the facility until you get used to it. But the thing is, there is no going back. It's not a choice anymore. We must do it. So my advice to all the person that are involved with warehousing, trucking, EV, etc., is start now, before the law oblige you to do it. So it's better to start now. Start your transformation, your sustainable supply chain, sustainable transformation from now, while you can do it on your own will, before you get forced to do it. And at that moment, you will spend much more time and much more money than you would have if you started, a little bit before, bits and pieces here and there. So that's my huge recommendation. So 3, improve your maintenance, engage a company who does professional work, not patching and fixing. Start slowly now your sustainable transformation, your supply chain sustainable transformation. Start now. There is no time. You're already late if you didn't. And 3 is, please recruit the right people in your teams to conduct that, because that's also something that is overlooked. And we think that sustainability, someone can do it on his spare time. No, it's a science. It's a science behind it, especially in supply chain. If you do it wrong, it will cost a lot. So please recruit the right people who has the knowledge to do that. That's a very good investment. You're not wasting money. On the contrary. So invest on the right competency to conduct your sustainable transformation. Thank you.
Oh, very well said, Ms. Reen. As you said, sustainability isn't just a target, it's becoming a competitive differentiator within the sector. So,
Absolutely. It's not a choice anymore. Like, you have to go. It's like technology. You cannot do without technology. You have you have to start. So better start now, willingly, before the law force you to do it.
absolutely. So, now continuing on innovation. So, Shiva, how are IoT-based cold chain solutions helping logistics and distribution teams make better operational decisions? And also, could you just give us a real-world example?
Yeah, sure. So in fact, yes, the technology is just adding it, making it better and ease, and bringing it, in handy information. But as our colleagues mentioned that the process, the supply chain, everything is utmost important. So now, having the right technology in place, you can get this the real-time temperature and location monitoring. You can get the instantaneous alerts and when the thresholds are violations, and then you can also do a predictive analysis to prevent the risks before they occur, and then not only just having this safety security of this concernment, you can also produce this compliance ready data logs for the futuristic audit purpose, as per some standards, WHO standards in case of medicines and drugs. In case of food, you have the food authorities and etc. So having all this in place, you can really enhance your entire cold chain processing segment, that inclusive of produce, then transformation, transportation, and then storage, and then shipment. And so all these things not only just avoid the spoilage of the shelf life, it will also retain gives you the freshness and build the good brand value of the produce. These are the things that you can really make this entire supply chain enhancement using this technology.
So that's fantastic to know. So now moving on, Olive.
Probably, since you asked for some of the examples, so we worked with one of our recent global deployments involved in a leading pharmaceutical distributors that managing the last mile vaccine delivery across 7 countries. We have enabled them to monitor temperature across mobile refrigerator units in a real time. So while reduce the spoilage by over 30% and help them to achieve compliance with WHO guidelines as well. That is one live example that I could tell you. And there is another example where some of the the food is produced like mushrooms from the Australia and then exporting to Singapore and other countries. So there was an issue that before this container gets delivered, they could find that at least 30-40% the farm produce got spoiled. They had no clue because everybody in the stakeholders has followed the instructions. In spite of it, you could not able to give the shelf life assured. So that is where we started putting our real time data loggers and real time temperature sensing system, and we could able to identify the reason for the shelf life shorten. So there was a situation where the package was not properly done. There was a leakage of temperature, and there was different scenarios where the trucks are not maintained the right temperature where it's supposed to be. Most of the time, people hire the trucks to move place A to place B. It's not practically possible to own the trucks every time. So for them, it is a just trip, pick it up and drop it. But you would not have any idea about the temperature, the storage conditions, etc. After started placing the sensors, we could able to give the analytics and live reports, which can give you that insights, what really went wrong, what was it cause for the food spoilage or reducing the shelf time. So with this analytics, then we put the process in place. We work with the right stakeholders. We have shown that evident data, and then we have done course corrections to tighten the process. Then the 30% food wastage has been reduced down to probably 3 to 5%. This is another example that I could give you this.
Okay, yeah. So these examples are really helpful in realizing what actually happens on the ground. So, now moving on to Olive again. So, Olive, how are countries like UAE and Saudi Arabia positioning themselves as a regional cold chain hub? And like what kinds of incentives are being offered to attract the global players to invest or expand into these markets?
Yeah. So yeah, you see that the Gulf countries are basically trying to develop themselves as cold chain hubs. They have already come a long way, but like we saw in the examples from Nisrin, for example, there's still a lot to win also. And governments are actively promoting to develop that sector. You have, for example, the infrastructure like Jebel Ali Port, the Kizat area in Abu Dhabi, an initiative like Food Tech Valley that is under development in Dubai, and Etihad Rail. And in Saudi Arabia, you have the mega facilities in Jeddah and the free zone near Riyadh Airport. Yeah, of course, there are some advantages and incentives connected to those zones, like 100% foreign ownership. In some cases, there's no corporate tax, and they try to streamline the customs procedures to make that better in line with also the cold chain logistics. For the rest, they promote things like fast-track licenses, co-investment. Sometimes the government co-invests in the construction or development of new facilities. And Yeah, there are also already, maybe it can be more, but some sustainability-driven incentives like green logistics, solar-powered cold storage, circular economy. These are all initiatives that are yeah, good for sustainability, but also provide interesting business opportunities. So I think that's definitely an area there where yeah, we will see companies from the Netherlands, where I work for often, but also from yeah, around the world can step in and develop the sector further.
Okay, thank you, Olive. So it is clear that the Gulf nations are not just investing, they are strategically branding themselves as logistics gateways. So, Robin, I'd like to come back to you. How do you see the role of startup ecosystems and SMEs in solving last mile cold chain gaps? Are investors really showing interest in these areas?
Yes, I must say yes. Startups and SMEs are actually becoming a secret weapon in solving the last mile for cold chain challenges, especially in the emerging markets. We see that infrastructure can be fragmented or inconsistent. So their agility and innovation allow them to fill the gaps that larger players often overlook. So yeah, we see there a huge increase. Also, for instance, we're seeing tech-driven startups deploying compact and solar-powered mobile refrigerating units with real-time GPS tracking and smart lockers for temperature-sensitive deliveries. All of these are game changers for rural and hard-to-reach areas. So that's also something where we see that there's a huge change. While meanwhile, data analytics platforms developed by SMEs are helping optimize delivery routes, reducing spoilage, and ensure compliance with shrink cold chain protocols. So coming back, what Nasreen is also mentioning, the operations is often overlooked, but hopefully by implementing data and as well the AI, we can improve these things. So the real magic happens when these startups collaborate with traditional players, such 3PL distributors and government-backed incubators. That's the ones that we are looking forward to collaborate with. So when these partnerships are enabled, they fasten the prototyping, shared logistic assets, and localized last mile execution, especially in markets like Jordan, Egypt, and Oman, but as well as Saudi Arabia and the UAE. To put it in simple, I could say, well, the big guys are building the highway, startups are building their on-ramps, and together we are shaping a more resilient and accessible cold chain ecosystem across the region.
Very well said. So it is clearly being seen that the last mile innovation truly is where we see the human impact of technology and logistics intersects. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
correct, yeah.
Yes. So now, Nisreen, let's close the panel around with your take on this as well. How do you see startup innovation and SME collaboration playing a role in addressing the last mile cold chain challenges, particularly in emerging Middle Eastern markets?
Yes, hi, Anjali. Sorry, can you repeat the last bit? Can you repeat it, please?
Yes. So I'm asking, how do you see the startup innovation and SME collaboration playing a role in addressing the last mile cold chain challenges, particularly within the Middle East markets?
Okay, so same as Robin. Yes, like my dear friend and brother Robin said already, today we are one of the most active region in terms of entrepreneurship, creating startups, product development, and creativity, and that's why we have so many incubators, etc., in the region. and it's encouraged really like extensively. Either it's UAE, Qatar, Oman, Saudi, and it's very even overwhelming because there are so many options. Um, Now the yes, absolutely. Today, you have a difference between or not a difference, but I would say there is much more opportunities for new um, new systems, new products or system to help your supply chain. We Yes, you have in one hand the legacy systems, the traditional SAP, Oracle, Logistics, Manhattan, all the big systems, and which are still valid and are themselves renewing or transforming themselves to adapt to the world. And that's in one hand. And in the other hand, you have, developers, SMEs, startups that can develop something as you want. And because the key here, Anjali, and all the friends, the key is the economy is changing so fast. You can see what's happening today. It's changing so fast that it's okay to invest I would say a reasonable amount of money into a tool that you might change next year. So today, the tools that are very successful are the one that are easy to implement, really, like within a month, it's implemented, and easy to understand. Because again, one of our huge challenge, besides system, besides cold chain, etc., in the region is supply chain competency and people. So we don't have enough in the region. So in that sense, the system needs to be like easy to understand, easy to implement, and almost with a short shelf life. Almost like it's okay after 1 year and a half or two, I'll change or the upgrade. So and that's okay. That follows the fast pace of the economy. So we need to be also very flexible, very open into what we are using into as systems. We have to be very, very, very flexible. So I think yes, there is a huge opportunity for startups, entrepreneurs, etc., that are creating tools. Please go ahead, uh, propose, suggest. Don't be afraid. All I'm asking, all we are asking, is be serious in your products. Sell it, but be serious in your product and in the follow up in the customer service. Otherwise, it will be just a buy and then later we leave it. So that's what I would recommend. But yes, there's a huge need, like Robin said, there's a huge need in tools. Supply chain, we have to be, and it's so challenging these days. We have to be ahead of the economy. We need to be able to predict things, which today is so challenging. And because we have to be ahead as supply chain experts of the economy, we must be extremely flexible, very, very flexible, and willing to change tools and change way of doing things in order to move forward. Of course, there is always like a generic strategy you're following, but the way operationally you're implementing has to be extremely agile and flexible. I hope it helps and makes sense.
Great, Shraddha Nisreen. Seriously, innovation at the SME level is clearly becoming a critical part of the
Yes.
daily. Yeah. So, thank you to all our esteemed panelists for sharing their perspectives. And it's been a very insightful session, from food security priorities to sustainable logistics practices to investments flowing IoT innovation. The Middle East cold chain transformation is truly a multi-stakeholder journey. So before we sign off, I'd like to invite everyone to join us at second World Cold Chain Expo, taking place on September 10th and 11th at Festival Arena, Dubai. It's a landmark event where we are bringing together all the cold chain stakeholders, innovators, leaders under a single platform where you can also explore the cutting edge technologies, form strategic partnerships, and drive the future of the cold chain logistics. And of course, thank you to our audience for tuning in. Stay connected with us for more industry leading discussion. Until next time, stay informed and stay inspired.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.